some big blokes picked the ball up, and I've gone over to get the ball, and he's gone like that to me, and I've gone out to put my hand out for the ball, and he's just gone like that and bounced it off my head, and just went like that, flying back. Neil Warnock would always tell the rest of the team that we're lucky to play with 𝐍𝐸𝐵𝐏𝐍, things like that. He didn't even call me by my name. He used to just call me the Wednesday lad. I'll walk by him and he'd just say, he goes, he'd walk by and he'd say, there's another career I've saved, the Wednesday lad over there. Come from Wednesday, the biggest rivals, and come over. And I know a lot of players have come over, but I don't know, I just felt as though I had some sort of special relationship when I played. This is my club now, I love it.
This is the Sheff United Way podcast.
It's time for another fantastic guest here on the Sheff United Way. Do we spoil you? Yes, we do. Dublin-born defender, one of a select few to have not only made the switch across the city, but also be popular in both camps. Not an easy feat. Let's welcome Derek Peter Geary.
How's it going, Del? You all right, mate?
I'm good, Nick. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. Thank you.
Is that what you prefer, Del?
Yeah, no one calls me Derek. Well, my mother, she still calls me Derek, but I've very much cemented the name Del now, yeah.
There's only two people that call me my proper name. So my proper name's Alexander, which is my mother when I'm in trouble, and Casper Lapata always calls me Alexander, doesn't he, Nick?
He does, yeah. I don't think he really remembers who you are, to be honest.
Every time he messages me, he's like, "Hello, Alexander. How are you this fine day?" I'm like, "Why so formal? We've spoken plenty of times." Anyway.
I'm the same. I think my partner as well, she calls me Derek. I'm pretty sure I'm in the bad books.
Is it kind of like a Derek?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You do what you want, Derek.
Brilliant. First of all, do you want to tell us how you arrived in Sheffield from obviously your native island all those years ago in 1997?
No, yeah, it's a long time now, looking back. Just basically, Nick, I was playing football, local grassroots over in Dublin, and I went on a few trials. I went to Birmingham, Arsenal, Newcastle. And to be honest with you, the ball them clubs said they quite liked me as a player, but my height was always going to be an issue. Straight away they looked and go, he's a good player, but he's a bit small. Can he handle the physicality of English football, etc.? And I was fortunate I went up into Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, there's some really good coaches there. With Ricky Hill used to play, and Charlie Williamson with the youth team coaches there, and they quite liked me. And they were a bit unsure, and then obviously because of my height, but luckily enough, they put me on, I signed in October and they put me in a contract till the end of the season. And I knew once I got my foot in the door, I'd be fine. It was just a matter of people getting past the initial perception of me, obviously being a little fullback, which is not ideal. But once I knew I got in the door and I could show them what I do every day, obviously with my attitude and my work rate and my desire, I knew it improved. So I just really needed that opportunity. And I was grateful that they gave me that opportunity at the time.
Were you always a fullback? Did you never play any other positions?
Well, you're going to laugh at this. I did start out a goalkeeper.
You were never going to make it as a goalkeeper. No. Sorry to inform you about that.
As soon as the goals got a bit bigger from under four, I knew I wasn't going to be a goalkeeper. I did play in the wing because obviously it was quite quick, but I seemed to just settle into being a fullback. I quite enjoyed that, coming up against good wingers, having battles and getting forward like I did. So I sort of started a trend early doors where I more or less continued being that player and had that identity really through since I was a kid, where some other kids will play different positions right up to 14, 15. I seem to have been a fullback quite from an early age.
You know what, Nick? I think that Derek Geary is my spirit animal because I'm relating to a lot of this. So I was very, very short at school. I was always the shortest, and I was eventually stuck at left back. Because of that. And Nick's going to laugh, I had a growth spurt.
Not sure that happened. No.
So I've now reached the dizzy heights of 5'8", but there was a long time when I was always the shortest. And absolutely, I can completely relate to that. People judging you purely on your size, and then they see you play football. And in my case, they went, he's not only is he short, he's also terrible at football. But did you have any idea that you'd still be in Sheffield? What is it now, 25 years later?
No way, not a chance. I was pretty sure that when I left Ireland, I don't know whether it was subconscious or not, that I was going to have a career in the game. But I think I got quite lucky because, like, you know, they say horses for courses. I fell on the city that was perfect for me. I grew up, like, Sheffield's a working class city. We all know that, and they appreciate the grafters. They appreciate the workers on the pitch, and that's what I came from. I come from a working class family myself, and a part of Dublin, and it was almost just the perfect fit, really. And to come through, like, I could have been at Arsenal where he probably wanted you to be a bit more technical, a bit more like that, their DNA. But the club, Sheffield, as well as Sheffield United, the DNA is built on hard work. And it was almost, when I came in, I almost thought, yeah, if I ever had a chance of having a professional career, this was the city for me. And as you said, I ended up staying here. I think the city took to me as much as I took to them, and continued the longevity, really.
Yeah, and obviously you were playing for Sheffield Wednesday. Ooh. What do you remember? What are your memories of playing for the wrong side of the city?
To be fair, I spent a lot of years there, and I'll always be grateful to give me my chance in English football. Like I just explained, I didn't really have many people wanting to take me over, and I grew in the youth team there, so I had a lot of experience and made a lot of friends. Obviously, that's where I met 𝐍𝐸𝐵𝐍 there through the youth team. I came over with Alan Quinn, obviously, which you end up having a bit of a relationship with and a career with, and they gave me my debut, they gave me my chance, and I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy my time there, because I did, and I was grateful, and I was grateful for the opportunities that they gave me. And it was a struggle at the time. Sheffield Wednesday, between, obviously, I don't think they've actually really recovered from them days, obviously playing in the Premier League with Paolo Di Canio and that. So it was quite a struggle. I mean, a lot of young lads coming through, and there was a lot of pressure on such a big club, on such young lads to produce, where usually a young lad will come through and they'll have experience around them. I was fortunate I made my debut a bit earlier, where I was playing alongside Des Walker, who I was watching on Matchday just a few months earlier. So for me, as a young guy from Ireland, the experience of that was amazing, really, and it was a great experience. But like I said, I was always convinced I was going to have a career, and I ended up spending 6-7 years there, which was, obviously, I look back and it was a struggle, but there was a lot of good memories.
When you were there at the same time as Paolo Di Canio, you might know where this is going, Nick. You're now working at a club with 𝐍𝐸𝐍. And I think it's fair to say that Wes does not have fond memories of Paolo Di Canio. Have you ever spoken to Wes about the fact that Paolo gave him the nickname League One Wes?
No, I daren't say it. He's about 6 foot odd, and I'm only 5'6". So no, I definitely didn't say it. But I'm pretty sure that Paolo Di Canio said a lot worse to players than that.
That's a very good point.
He was an absolute maniac. But his talent was as high as his insanity, and that's probably why they say genius boards on the string of insanity. And he was an unbelievable footballer, but he was, every club he went into, as you can see from then, as a player and as a manager, it doesn't end well. He's such an eccentric guy, but his talent is outrageous. I know the Wednesday fans loved him there at the time, but I don't think he's the proper fit for longevity with a stable club. That's just my opinion, but his talent is obviously undisputed.
Well, when you're feeling brave, one day you can ask Wesley Foderingham.
You know what? I'm definitely going to take you up on that.
Good man. Let us know if he's got fond memories. I'll be very surprised if he does. Now, we really should have started with this question. I'm sure it's what everyone is watching this video for. But how did the move to Stockport County come about in 2004?
So my contract ran out with a few others. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday was obviously then looking for another club. So I remember the very day that we went to York races. So at Neil Warnock, me, 𝐍𝐸𝐵𝐍 and Alan Quinn had the same agent. So the agent rang them, especially Alan Quinn. Neil Warnock wanted Alan Quinn. And then he wanted 𝐍𝐸𝐵𝐍 as well. And he said, I'd love to take Geary as well, but if I took the three of them, the fans would absolutely kill me. So I was quite good at the time, I'm not going to lie. So obviously Lee and Alan moved on to Sheffield United. And Sammy McElroy at the time was manager of Stockport. We had some really good players back then. We had Ashley Williamson, Ricky Lambert, Mark Bridge Wilkinson, Luke Beckett. Some got really good, Adam LaFondras, good team. But when I went there, Neil Warnock said to my agent, if Bromby and Quinn do well, I'll come in for them. And I thought, okay, that's fair enough. So on my very first day at Stockport, and when I met Sammy McElroy, one of my first words to him was, if a big club comes in for me, please let me go. And he said, you have my word, you have my word. And literally actually, funny enough, we drew them in the cup, in the Carling Cup. So we played at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United. And I was quite fortunate. I'd done myself well and done myself justice on the night. And Rob Kozlock and Simon Francis were still injured around the time. And then it was about 6 weeks in at Stockport, and Alan Quinn rang me one day and was on the way into training. He goes, listen, the gaffer's just spoke to me. He says, they're going to come in for you today. He goes, and the first thing I did was got off the phone, went straight into Sammy McElroy's office and said, listen, Sheffield United are going to come in for me today. Please let me go. And I said, you're a man of your word. And to be fair to Sammy, he was a man of his word. I don't think he was too keen on me leaving, but I don't think he was too keen on me wanting to leave as much as I did. But I couldn't miss the opportunity and the challenge of playing for such a big club, but also I knew the challenge of having to prove people, which I knew I was going to have to come into that environment. And I quite liked the idea of that pressure, really.
Yeah, and that was your dress rehearsal, wasn't it, for playing under Neil Warnock, playing against him?
Oh, bloody hell, yeah. I had lots of battles against him, obviously, at Wednesday and that, so I knew what it was all about, but I quite knew that Sheffield United would have been the fifth for me. In saying that, I knew ultimately if I was going to survive as long as I had a Sheffield United, I would have happened to win over the fans. But because of how I played and the city, and I knew the city and I knew what it was all about, I was quite confident that in time I would, unless I had a few nightmares along the way.
I don't think there's many ex-Sheffield Wednesday players that have signed for us that we've kind of not taken under our wing, really. It just doesn't happen. Once you're a Sheffield United player, you're a Sheffield United player. So do you want to tell us a little bit about Neil Warnock and working under him?
I don't know where to start, really.
Yeah, we've got several hours, haven't we?
He's so good. His man management of players is really good. Don't get me wrong; it's not where you love him every day, and it's a case of you go in every day thinking I want to play for the gaffer because he could drive you mad. But I think he was really good at dealing with each individual characters. Like he had like 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐍 here at the time, who was probably and went on to be our best up and coming player. And he was spoiled, Jags. I'm not saying now. If he wasn't winning a five-a-side, he'd sulk and get a dummy out. But Neil Warnock would always make sure that 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐍's team was winning a five-a-side. Neil Warnock would always tell the rest of the team that we're lucky to play with 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐍, things like that. He played with like Chris Morgan and that, which obviously they didn't go down too well with them. But we did appreciate that Jags was going to be obviously the top player he was. And then he dealt with me, who, like I just said earlier on, I like to prove people wrong. So he to be fair, for the first 6 months, he didn't even call me by my name. He used to just call me the Wednesday lad. And he said, and he used to say, I'll walk by him and he'd just say, he goes, he'd walk by him and say, there's another career I've saved, the Wednesday lad over there. I think it took a while for me to prove my worth, brave. I think one day he walked in, he said, good morning, Del. And I thought, bloody hell, he knows my name.
Well, that would have meant something. That's great man management, as you say.
It was unbelievable. He knew how people were wired, and he knew how to get the best out of them. His man management skill was outstanding, and he wasn't as daft as what he makes out. Half the time, the touchline rants and all, it's deflecting mechanism where he's protecting the players. Sometimes someone's having a bad performance. But I've had a couple of bad performances, and I'm thinking, oh no. And he'd be doing an interview after the game, and he'd push it back onto the referee decision in that day, and all of a sudden the fans and people are talking about the referee's decision rather than me probably conceding 2 goals. So yeah, he's good like that.
Are you still in touch with former teammates, maybe even from both sides of the city, like Lee Bromby, or you already mentioned Alan Quinn? Yeah,
it's amazing because obviously, like myself, when we leave football, you want to get back into it in some capacity. Like I still speak to Alan Quinn, Stephen Quinn's playing at Mansfield. Lee Bromby was best man at his wedding and godparent to his kids. So he's a sporting director up at Huddersfield now. Obviously, Stephen Haslam's academy manager at Sheffield Wednesday, who I played with. Matt Hamshaw's assistant manager over at Rotherham, and that who played at Sheffield Wednesday. Michael Tong's the U team manager at Huddersfield. I still speak to Monty, who's out at Central Coast Mariners. Obviously, I've seen Jags last season. He was around about here. Chris Morgan, still around the place quite a lot. No, I could name loads here because I still go through and see them quite a lot. Yeah. I always think when you have that sort of bond with, like you talk about the Millwall game, and we were fortunate enough, I think the next season we got promoted. Like this group here with Billy Sharp, obviously Flecky, these guys have been and had that much success, you'll always have that bond. You may not see each other for a couple of years, and once you see each other, it's like it's back to the old days. And I think that's another one of Neil Warnock's strength, and it's what Sheffield United is all about. You create this everyone together, this us against them things, and let's go through adversity together. And it does bring you together. And as teammates, it wasn't a war, but it felt like our war, and we were against everybody, and we were going to prove against all the odds. And when you have that bond, you never seem to lose it, even though you might not see someone as much.
I think that came across in the documentary that Warnock made it feel like it was us against them and against the world. So in that dressing room, who were the jokers?
Obviously, you must have heard Rob Kozlock was always pranking.
Never heard that before. Not once.
He was relentless, though. It didn't matter. It was a Monday morning or a Friday night. He was relentless. He just used to hammer everybody. But what he did is, I think that's what obviously the manager at the time liked about it, because he was good in the dressing room. And another thing what Warnock was good at, he recognised characters, and he always, look, me and Cozzy obviously battling out for the right full spot, but he'd always kept Cozzy because of how he brought the team together and how he kept that humour and that spirit. Because at times we joke about it, and at times, but the pressure games, aren't they? You're at a big club, you're expected to win. And at that time we were pushing for promotion, we're expecting to win games. So to have someone that's joking around, and not all the time, but makes a bit light of things, it sort of eases the pressure, obviously, before we go into the games.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about obviously playing for Sheffield United, what is your highlight from playing for us?
I've got so many, Nick. So many. So obviously the Man United games are good, but I just love playing every game here. I don't know, it sounds flippant and all that. And the biggest thing for me is when I came here, I played in derbies against Sheffield United. And I always say this story. I don't even remember Michael Brown scored that volley, didn't he? I actually headed out to him. You think he got best goal of all time, and he thanked me for the assist when he got the award.
You know what? I never knew that was you that headed that out.
In fact, if you actually watched the 3 goals, I was probably Sheffield's best player that night. I caused 3 goals. But that night, the ball's going out at the top end, and some big blokes picked the ball up, and I've gone over to get the ball, and he's gone like that to me, and I've gone out to put my hand out for the ball, and he's just gone like that and bounced it off my head and just went like that, flying back. And I remember at the time thinking, I could never play here. These are driving me mad. And if you told me then that I'd go on then to have the relationship and the affinity with the club, like this is my club now, I love it. At that minute, I'd have thought you're absolutely mad. And if anyone asks me which your biggest achievement in football, I always say is the winning over the Sheffield fans and the relationship that I had with them. Obviously, look, you play bad games, you'll get criticism, that's it. But to come from Wednesday, the biggest rivals, and to come over, and I know a lot of players will come over, but I don't know, I just felt as though I had some sort of special relationship when I played, especially once I won over and they accepted me. And like you said, Nick, they do. Once you're a blade, they'll take you into heart. But I didn't just become a blade, I stayed a blade, so it was good.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you cross that divide and we take you in, we kind of look after you more than everybody else because we've made you one of our sort of thing. It sounds a bit weird, that.
Yeah, and also it's worth pointing out there were players that came from Sheffield Wednesday that never won the Blades fans over, like Owen Morrison, very briefly Tommy Johnson played for. It didn't always happen. It happened with you almost, and Alan Quinn and Lee Bromby pretty much instantly.
We were fortunate as well, though. We came into a good side, which was winning games. Like, if we'd have been losing, I'm pretty sure we'd have took a bit of a rat. But no, I think you're right. They do. They take you in. And I remember one time, I think we played at Hillsborough and we lost 2-0. And I'll get after Wednesday fans battered me. And the next week we played at Bramall Lane, I think against Man City. I don't even remember the balloons. I think Luton Shelton scored and hit a balloon or something like that. I just remember when I came out onto the pitch that day to warm up, the fans were warm to me. I know they were basically annoyed over the week before, but like they were just like, okay, you lost, but we get together again and we go again, which was really good. Really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question for you. Do Sheffield Wednesday fans hate you now?
They're okay with me. The youth, when I played at United, I couldn't go down. Well, it's not that I wasn't. I'd get shit basically everywhere I went when I go downtown. They'd just come for me and they'd get hammered. But it's understandable. if a player who probably done well at their club and went to the biggest rivals, of course I'd do the same, because I wouldn't be able to understand, well, how can you, like, I couldn't imagine you two ever imagine sitting there wearing a Sheffield Wednesday jersey. You think, what's going on? So I understood it. My biggest thing is that because I brought up in the city, I stayed in the city, and I like the city, and I like living here. Where most players who come in and play for Sheffield United on Wednesday, they probably live on the outskirts, probably away from the hustle and bustle of people giving them a bit and that. But obviously, I was in it, and people knew me, and I suppose I was a part of people's lives for a long time. So,
well, you know,
a bit of stuff. But
my 6-year-old nephew said to me today, he was talking about if he becomes a professional footballer, which is his dream. He said, Uncle Hal, would you still love me if I played for Sheffield Wednesday? and I like crouched down, I ruffled his hair, and I went, no.
Cristiano Ronaldo, what was it like to play against the great man?
It was good, because that was when he was at his quickest, I think. I think I played against him twice that year, didn't we?
Yeah.
I do remember the second game at Old Trafford. I was in the hotel that day. It was a Monday night football, and I was rooming with Matt Kilgallen. And I was lying in bed at 3 o'clock in the day, and all I kept saying to Matt Kilgallen was, why is this game on Sky Sports tonight? Because Cristiano Ronaldo is going to absolutely tear me up, and my mates back home in Ireland are going to take the piss for the next 20 years. And I thought, but now it was brilliant. I got a story. At Bramall Lane, I ended up getting his jersey. So it was, I think, to be fair, I don't think he was too pleased with me. I think I threw him in the advertising boards in the first half. But the start of the second half, he was just in line with me. And I went like that. I said, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. He's going to be around for a long time. And he went like that to me. So I thought, oh, great, I'm going to get Ronaldo's jersey at the end of the game. So, but I think everyone remembers he missed an open goal near the end of the game, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Straight over the bar.
At Bramall Lane, yeah.
At Bramall Lane, yeah. And so as soon as the whistle blew, like he does, he stormed down the tunnel. Obviously, he didn't score, but I knew John O'Shea, who played for Man U then. And I said to John O'Shea, he's promised me his jersey. And he says, oh, don't worry about him. He'd be absolutely fuming that he just missed an open goal. I didn't think anything of it. I said, fair enough. The only thing is I thought I'd like Gary Neville's jersey because he's a fullback like me. So I went over to Gary Neville and says, can I have your jersey? And he said he's promised it to 𝐍𝐸𝐶𝐸. And so that's it. I said, yeah, no problem. I wasn't going around looking for jersey, but I just thought they're two that I probably want, some fullback and Ronaldo. So I did. That was it. I just walked into the dressing room, had a bag of ice on my knee like I usually did. And I don't know if you remember, Brian Kidd was here at the time with Neil Warnock.
Of course.
So Brian Kidd's come in to me and he says, so I'm just sitting there and he goes, I've just spoke to Gary Neville. He says, tell Geary, sorry he couldn't give you his jersey. But he said, I've gotten Ronaldo's instead. So that was perfect.
That's really worked out very, very well.
Yeah, so I always stick up for Gary Neville since then, for sure, yeah. So
I stick up for him because without my beard, I look just like him.
You do look like him, actually.
Yeah, I used to get that all the time. So that's why I grew the beard. I get less grief on the street. Now, you did actually suffer a few injuries in your career. I know we don't really want to talk about it, but that knee injury in 2008 saw you out for quite a long time. Was it something like 18 months?
Yeah. I mean, that
tough time, that.
Yeah, that was the time when I knew I had a few operations on my knee before that, but that was the up when I thought it's not going to happen for me now. I knew I was struggling to get back. I had two problems that time again. It was my knee injury I had, and then Kyle Walker coming behind me like a train, so I didn't really stand a chance. But what I did then is, when I got back from the injury, I was sort of playing Monday, Tuesday, in and out of the team. But obviously, I got the two Kyles, Kyle Norton and Walker coming through. And football's like any walk of life. If everybody wants their spot, and everybody doesn't want to be real threatened to someone else. So sometimes when a younger kid does go up, you see a first team player, oh, he's not taking my jersey. Where I sort of knew I was on my way out then, and my knee was going, I was crocked. I just decided that I'd help the two of them come through, see if I can help develop. And that's when I really started thinking, I'd like to go into youth development and helping young kids and develop them. So I sort of took maybe Kyle Walker, especially, just on my wings and giving him advice and all that. I used to say to him, listen, one day I'm going to be looking to you for advice. I'm going to be asking you what it's like playing at the top, because you're going to have the career that much that I'm going to have. So hopefully I helped him ease in. He was going to have the career he had anyway, but
no, it's all down to you.
Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully I found it eased in, but yeah, he was a good lad. So that's when I first started thinking, look, my knee's gone. I've got the real two exciting, really good fullbacks coming in. just help them along the way and develop and see how they get on. And that's when I started thinking maybe coaching might be for me.
So how did that coaching role come about then?
Well, when my knee totally went and my contract ran out, I'm not going to lie to you. So I had, like any footballer, they can say what they want. I never really had, I taught a coaching, but I never went through my badges or anything, Nick. So, and once it hits and you leave and you miss being part of a dressing room every day, you miss being part of a club, you miss match days, you miss the buzz of winning. You also miss the losers because it's a trade-off. The highs of the wins are only as high as the feeling of the losses. So I went back to Ireland for a bit, spent a bit of time over there, wasn't doing much. And I just thought, well, I need to get my act together here. Just you hit a bit of a dip. I wouldn't say I had major mental issues, but I'd say there was a slight bit of depression in there for sure, 100%, because of what I missed. I've been part of something for so long, and all my life I wanted to be a footballer. I lived my dream, blah, blah, blah. So then my partner got pregnant and moved back over to Sheffield. She's a Sheffield girl. And we're just living here, and I said, I need to do something. So I just basically rang Kevin McCabe and says, who was obviously chairman here.
Give me a job.
Yeah, so I skipped the middleman and just went straight to the top. He said, what do you want to do? He said, do you want to do after dinner speaking and all that? And I said, well, you might not understand me with that one, so especially with a few beers with me. So I said, I wouldn't mind doing a bit of coaching, getting into that. And he says, yeah, go ahead. So I came down to the academy, met the academy manager at the time. And he says, what do you want to do? Like the 18s? I says, no, I want to go straight down the bottom and build my way up. He said, learn my trade. So I started with the under 12s, done the under 13s. Funny enough, so the under 12s who I had then, I ended up being the coach in the under 18s then. So it was quite good to follow the journey along the way.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so it was a good experience. So, and I just learnt my trade, got my badges as I've gone along. And luckily enough, the under 18s role come up in obviously a few years ago, and I took it. And I've been doing it ever since. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, how rewarding is this role?
Immensely, yeah. Immensely. Listen, you go from putting yourself before everything, because that footballers do, to you look at young kids and you want to help them, and sometimes you can get frustrated because they don't quite understand what it takes to get there, and you're like, come on, you got to work hard, you got to do more than anyone else. But the rewards is when the ones that do get it and they do push forward and they do progress, and just seeing them improve as footballers, and especially the young kids as well, they're maturing into young men as well, and to build that respect and that relationship with them, and for them just to probably appreciate it more than anything. The kids of today have changed, but not the one thing that's not different between the kids today and the kids probably 20, 30 years ago is if they know you care, they're fine with you. Do you know what I mean? As long as they know that you actually care about them and you want them to do well. So it's similar like that now. I know social media and all out there, but it's so rewarding, and especially obviously you see lads making their debuts like Daniel Jebison last year when he scored against Everton. You got a few lads on the bench last year. Frankie Maguire, Willis Sula's been on the bench. Obviously, Zach Blunt, Kyron Gordon played this year. Illiman, who's been in with us. They're the rewards. The rewards to see them improve and hopefully to go on to have not just a similar career for me, but a better career than what I've had.
I think you've probably already touched on a lot of things, what you're about to say again. But what's the best part of the job that you're doing right now?
Sometimes, though, for me, Nick, is we all want them to play for Sheffield United. You want them to have a career, but sometimes a kid that I've had to release and break the news to him and probably break his heart, if I see him on the road and he'd come up to me and he'd still thank me for everything I've done for him, that's probably better than actually seeing a kid go on to play in the first team, because you get more rewards out of that, because I've had to hit that kid. The kid who goes on to play in the first team will always look back at me with fond memories because he progressed through. But the ones who don't progress through, who are Sheffield United fans and love the club, I want them to go away and still love the club and not have a resentment against it and still be Sheffield United fans. And I think in the main I do that, but I can't promise everyone thinks like that.
No, very, very difficult. It must be the worst bit, of course, is like when kids aren't going to get to the next stage. Because like you said, it's the dream.
Yeah.
There's so many. It's their only dream.
Like I had, and probably sometimes I'm a probably better way. I'm probably more equipped to coach these kids through this than a Leo Messi, because it wasn't straightforward for me. I did have to go through struggle. I did get no's. People did tell me I wasn't good enough. So when I'm talking to a kid and I'm saying, listen, you're not for us, by all means doesn't mean you're not good enough. So I can relate to them and I can give them my story, and hopefully that they can go away and think, you know what, if he can do it, well, I can do it.
I think that's a great point. And actually, it comes back to the point of why fantastic players generally don't make fantastic managers, because sometimes a great player doesn't know how they do it. They just do it. They were born with this talent and they can't coach a player to do this piece of skill, for example, because they just do it. Whereas if you're not very good naturally and you've had to work on it, you can explain exactly how you learned to do it and pass that knowledge on. Now, I'm not saying that for you. I'm just saying in general, players that aren't always as good as the very top sometimes tend to be really, really good managers because they just understand what it takes to get to that next level.
Yeah, 100%. Like I had to practice and work what I had, because I had Chris Waddle as a reserve team manager at Sheffield Wednesday.
Great example. He just does it and it works.
Well, we'd do a session. And don't get me wrong, he was a massive influence for me as a coach. I loved him as a person. And having someone like Chris Waddle believe in me really helped me confidence-wise. But we would do a training session. And if we couldn't do something, he would go onto the pitch and go, I can't understand how you can't just do this. And he'd hit a ball on a sixpence and all that. To him, he was just frustrated. He couldn't get his head around it, because he was obviously a world-class player and it was easy to him. And he just couldn't get his head around how we just couldn't do what he thought was so simple to do.
And you know, when I was saying that, I was thinking of Chris Waddle because someone had told me exactly that he would go, just do it like this. And apparently Glenn Hoddle also had a similar way of saying, how can you not do it?
I've seen a few videos of Glenn Hoddle going, well, just do it like this. And not things worse, they actually do it exactly how they want to do it.
Let's talk about the highlight, if there is one, so far with this under-18 journey. Is there maybe one game or one moment that sticks out?
Probably a few years ago, we beat Sheffield Wednesday at their training ground to win the league. In that team, we had Regan Slater played in that team, Jordan Hallam, Tyler Smith, who's gone on to play at Hull City now. Sam Grain is playing at Rochdale. Obviously, Regan's still here. Harry Gilmore. That was a really good team. And we went there, we were 1-0 down. I think we scored 2 late goals. And that was the happiest for me, but it was me being the happiest for the lads, if that makes sense. So I was only happy through them actually experiencing that. We had a good win the other night in the U Cup. We won on penalties against Millwall, where it was a bit of a crazy game. And we should have won probably over extra time in 90 minutes, and we went to penalties. And they ended up having 2 penalties to actually win the game. And our keeper, Callum Hiddleston, pulled off 2 great saves. And then we ended up winning the game. And the emotions of the kid after the game, celebrating. And I think it was at Bramall Lane, so there was ball boys there who were in the academy, and they were all celebrating. I think it's nights like that. It gives me more satisfaction seeing the lads having to experience what ultimately is what a football career is, and have to go through those emotions, and then to see them so happy. I think that's for me, because I'll be lying if I sat here and said that it's a nice, easy environment here. We make it tough for them. We put them through the mill, and sometimes I don't always come in with a smile on my face, and I'm pushing them and I'm constantly on them to get better, and that can be quite draining itself. But once they see those results and then they see the end and how the rewards of it, it makes my job a lot easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about kind of like the lads that have come through up to now, you've mentioned some up to now, Jefferson, Illiman and Dye. What sort of, any names that you can give us from the current youth crop that are looking very talented and could make it?
Yeah, we've got loads coming through. This is as good as talented bunch, potential-wise, that I've seen in a long time. We've got Oliver Alblaster, he's the captain of the U team. He's really good, proper Sheffield lad. And they're the ones that make it better for me. Sheffield lad, Sheffield United fan, been here since he's 6. I think coming out of Bramall Lane, the fans would love it. I think he's got massive. He's just been called up for England. We've got Will Lancashire's a good player, striker we got from Arsenal. Sidney Peck, another kid that we got in, he's a real talented player. Louis Marsh is a good player. Levis Pitton. And I don't want to leave too many out here. Theo Williams, we've got Antoine Hackford. Obviously.
Theo Williams, my mate Chris, who's been on the channel with us, he's from the same place as Chris, Lincolnshire, and knows him really well, and was telling me all about Theo, that this was like the best player in the entire town where he was from, and his dad would like take him to get to all look quite a long way for training and all that, and has been incredibly supportive in his life. So I'm keeping a personal eye on him.
Yeah, Lenny, his dad, feels good. He's quick as anything. Yeah, really fast. Antoine Hackford, who's there, obviously played last year in the Premier League under Chris. And on the 23s, we've got Willis Sula, Harrison Neal, Frankie Maguire. Got some real talent there. I don't want to leave too many out, because if you watch this, they'll start hammering me.
Well, be honest with me, Del, right now. Do you favour the smaller guys a little bit more than the taller guys?
No, only because they're at the same height as me when I'm talking. No, don't get me wrong. Everybody still goes to sort. If there's somebody that's similar to you, you will relate to. Got a little kid, a little fullback, and I YouTube in a minute, Tom Angel. He's tough in the tackle. He gives everything, and he's my height. So there will be a part of me that will relate to him. But I'll relate to Daniel Jebison and Oliver Alblaster, who's just technically really good just as much. But I try to be fair, and I don't try to be too biased as well. So I try to give them all as much as the same as everything. But yeah, I suppose maybe you're right. Maybe the answer to that is yeah, Nick.
He's so honest. Del, I got to say, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you so well with the Sheffield United under-18 squad. And just as, from spectators' point of view, watching you, it really was a pleasure. You said a little earlier, like, well, if you had a bad game, people give you stick. I actually cannot ever remember a poor performance that you put in a red and white shirt.
I tried it anyway. So, but no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Nick and Al. And I appreciate it. And like I said, I loved my time. I loved playing, and the memories that I'll always look back and fond of. And hopefully I can have some others have the same memories as me at the same club. So I'm looking forward to it.